So, I don't know if you can hear me. There's a huge crack in what felt like L4, L5 just now. And it's still, all these shoulder movements and hand postures and arm movements are working on the upper and lower rhomboids, moving through. Oftentimes each bundle that's pulling on the rhomboids that are connected to that stuck vertebrae, and there's the finger movements. The circles are like, what it feels like on the vertebrae is that it's gently tugging, like plucking at a thread. And it maximizes the stretch. It just reaches to kind of run through the range of motion. It also attempts to open up my posterior deltoids. This movement, though, well, that's a kind of tracing, or that whole erasure movement they teach you in school about rubbing out those soft spots in a joint. There's a similar motion right there. This is where it does it. And this is that motion of the shoulder, puts the nerve on the edge of its elasticity, and then it rotates really gently, does these circles, and that gently kind of plucks at the nerve, and I can feel that going all the way up my neck, in some cases into my vertebrae, but at this point it's going up and behind my ear. I hope this is recording, or that you can see me. I wasn't able to. Check. I can always do another one. And I'm going to turn. So you can see my back. Just so you can see my back. In relation to the arm movements. That feels like it's using the movement of my neck and my vertebrae kind of rub the fibrous tissue in my muscles and fascia as to break them up. You know, this is the Tai Chi type movement that I was telling you about. And while I took very little Kung Fu training, I read every book on it I could find, and I think this is another example of my body actually translating academic knowledge into a functional movement. And I'd also like to say that it didn't do everything perfectly at first. But it eventually refined the movements to almost textbook quality. And then it took them beyond that to customize them to my physical body. So that when it does a Kung Fu style movement or Tai Chi style movement, it's different and far exceeds my experience doing them manually or under my own power, I guess. And it's flowing kind of into something else. That was a good example of it taking over my breath and doing diaphragm and visceral work. It can be a bit unusual at first. I'm used to drowning already, but even then there was a slight sense of panic towards the end when my body really pushed the limits for that little alarm for oxygen. With the visceral work, it will suck in the diaphragm, which is its peak, which has gotten a lot higher since it started, and then it will kind of grind in to an organ like that. It'll do it even without the suction, but it worked. It worked on the pancreas area for quite some time. It continues to do so, and my kidneys. And it's made both of them physically painful, and the surrounding musculature became tight, but it kind of self-massaged itself out, but there was still some residual discomfort. I guess in those muscles that were tasked to protect the pancreas. So, intercostals, serrators, that stuff. Part of my abdominal, my first rib. There's also kind of a detox effect in that I'll drink tons of water while I'm doing this. Just insanely thirsty, but won't really urinate. But then when I do, even though I've just been drowning myself, it'll still come out dark or odd colors and with very strong smells. So that might be a symptom of the visceral work, is some kind of detox. Sometimes rapid movements that occur, and at first they made me very nervous, but then I realized that I was very much in control. And that irritation did occur. My body would do kind of nerve massage, which is incredibly relaxing, and it would almost instantly go away. This is stretching the rear deltoid at the moment, and then coming into the teres major and minor right there, and then subscapularis a little bit, but mostly teres major. And we'll do these motions, especially when something clicks or pops, like a tendon noise. It will crank just like this over and over and over on that pop. Push deeper and deeper into it until it slowly recedes and disappears. So, I'm going to say popping your knuckles is a good thing, but when a joint pops, gently moving in circles deeper and deeper into that pop just seems to rub it out, just like the erasure movement inside a joint. The tremor in the hand I've found at times to run throughout the entire body. And if it's not an actual circle, it's a tremor like that. I often find that it's either teasing a joint, which I'll feel, or it's actually a central nervous system tremor from either a trauma release or it's rewiring something. I'm not sure, but I've watched myself in the mirror doing this stuff. Oh, let me get back and watch myself in the mirror doing this stuff, and I found that it looks very much like Paul's shakes. This one is not the shake that I'm talking about. This is actually a muscle going to maximum contraction. It's a muscular shake. Oh man. So that was, again, the body trying to dislodge that vertebrae, taking me very deep into flexion, using every exhalation to kind of pump down on that joint. And then always, once the joint's been stressed, then it goes into these really gentle circles, this kind of massaging motion. And just like with that erasure technique, moving around the soft spots and kind of at the layers, my body does this, and you can see it slowly moves to the rhomboids release, and then my arms move a little bit deeper, taking the rhomboids further and further into the full range of motion after that period of extreme contraction. And then it goes back into straining one side while it massages the other, and then straining the other side, and again massaging in turn, I guess, to contract and then facilitate the corresponding release to allow full contraction to the opposing side, just like active isolated stretching, which seems to be either because I've learned and utilized active isolated stretching so much, or innate to the body, but it seems to be that I do or express things in my history as far as movement and modes of being. And this is, again, not me trying to impersonate Elvis Presley, but something it seems to do a lot when it's trying to connect my upper and lower girdles. I'll continue the arm stuff, but I can feel into my pelvis when I'm shaking like this, and it also kind of loosens up the sacrum. And the last time I did something like this for a prolonged period, I went into some very extreme contractions and stretches that actually, it felt like I got into a position where I could actually wrench, or didn't wrench, it actually felt like it slowly separated the sacrum from the ilium, so there was like a kind of a gap like that. So I kind of figured out a way to leverage my upper torso and all my soft tissue into pulling that joint open, and I flex both sides. But it doesn't seem to be going into that. Now it's gone back to that, not the lumbar, but the thoracic lumbar juncture. Seems to be really hitting heavy. But I think you got the point. It hasn't done the really fast punching or a lot of the kicking stuff, or oh, there goes leg motions. At one point I had my leg directly up in the air, bouncing on a big toe, and it's something, whoa, usually a lot more stable.